So that's my thing now. I'm trying to A, get poetry out to people who wouldn't usually get to see it, and B, try and get some of these messages about serious stuff, not just my own, but other people who I know, about homelessness, about addiction, about knife crime, to bigger audiences.
Hi, it's Rubi from Isaac, and we are obviously back in the treehouse today with someone very, very special. I am joined with writer and performer Phil Pearce. So, how are we, Phil?
I'm doing really well. I'm really
good.
well. Are you okay?
I'm good, thank you. Happy to be here. First off, I just want to know, how did you get into all this?
I started writing by accident. So I was in prison. So my quick history is I went through 10 years of drug addiction and 2 prison sentences. So on my second prison sentence, from 2013 to 2014, I was in a prison that was struggling really badly with spice, really dodgy drug, and the governor asked for something to be done to raise awareness. So there was this old boy from Barnsley who used to write poetry, so we were going to ask him to write something. The first choice for some of the lads was to do the Spice Boys, where they dressed up as girls and acted out the Spice Girls. I was like,
I can imagine that.
Yeah, so the governor said we can't really make fun of something because it's a serious thing. People are dying from it. So that night, gone back to my pad, went to sleep, woke up the next morning with this script in my head. So I dreamt up this conversation between 3 people, and it was all poetry, and it was in my head. So I wrote it down the next morning. I've still got that copy at home, and I took it to the staff, and they said it's really good, but it needs to be longer. So then I've got to sit and consciously write poetry. So it was just about 3 guys. One arrives in prison, one tries to sell him some, and then his mate comes and tries to talk him out of it. And then I added in a prison officer and a drug worker. And then I left the prison, I left it with them, and they got in touch and invited me back to watch the first ever sort of showing of it. So they'd got 3 prisoners who'd all memorised the lines. They had a prison officer and a drug worker to play those parts.
That's good.
It was absolutely brilliant. And I was sat there, and they had to change. I think there was 2 words. I said roid rage, they put head rage because they didn't want to associate it with steroids. So 2 little things like that got changed. But other than that, it was all exactly how I'd wrote it. So it went really well. And then I got an email saying, it was about 3-4 months later, it had a massive impact inside that prison, such a big impact that the amount of positive tests was reduced. So other governors were asking for it to be a DVD. Time slows down and you can't hear a sound. The adrenaline kicks in and your heart starts to pound, and your boys are all watching to see what you do, but this is so out of character. This isn't like you. But because of their encouragement, you push your knife in, and his chance of survival has suddenly become slim. You stood face to face, staring into his eyes, and the look on his face is one of complete surprise. And then I decided, well, we should be doing things like this outside. But it was maybe 2 years after I was released, so I never wrote poetry again. So I came home in 2014. And then in 2016, in October, I went to an event, a charity event that was a poetry night. And I was just absolutely blown away. So the people that were there, they were very sort of, it was what they were saying, but it was how they were saying it. So, and I just fell in love with it that night. And then there was another event the month after. So I signed up to it. I wrote something, and I went and performed it. And having the brain of an addict is tough because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but like to an extreme. So if I wanted to be good at it, I needed to do it how they did it. Because my first time is never going to be as good as their sort of millionth time or however long they've been doing it. I really beat myself up about it. But I kept going and I kept writing, and I just really love it. I've just got this dead.
You can tell when you're performing though. It's just like it's where you want to be. It's what you want to be doing. Is that? I've always wanted to how does it make you feel performing? Like just getting it all out there, because I think in a poet's eyes when they are doing spoken poetry, you can just see it in their eyes that it's coming out, and because it comes out in such a rhythm as well. It's just exciting to watch. So how does it make you feel?
At first I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the bit after where people was like, oh yeah, that was good, and but the actual performing bit I really struggled with. I nearly quit because so I'll give you an example. I can't read a book because I can't focus on one thing at a time. So my head still works 100 miles an hour. So when I first started and I was trying to read poetry, I'd be going along the lines, but I'd be sort of like, you hadn't looked over here, you hadn't done this, and I'd have this internal monologue that was distracting me from reading my words. So it kept happening, and I'd learn my words, and then when I'd go to perform, I'd forget my words because there'd be all this other stuff going on. So I nearly quit. And then I was out on my motorbike, and I had music on, and I started reciting the words with music, and I learned that if I do that, I've got a distraction of the music, but I'm also saying my words. So now the only way I can perform is to get the words in my head that much that I don't need to think about them. Yeah. And they just come out. So then when my head's saying you need to look over there, I can look over there. When it comes to the bit where I do that particular thing with my hands, I can do that thing with my hands because I'm not thinking about how
the words are already stuck there.
This is it, so now I really enjoy it because it's engaging, and I can do all this other stuff at the same time as the words just automatically coming out. But at first it was awful.
Struggle.
Yeah, I really struggled. I hated it. So you set off running, pulling up your hood, leaving him lying in a pool of his own blood, and you know what's happened has got you in deep because you keep reliving that moment every night in your sleep, and those boys that were there that you thought you could trust, they've all grassed you up and you won't see them for dust.
So tell us a bit about the piece that you've just performed and how you felt performing it in our treehouse.
When I got here, it's dead like raw. Like I love this setup. I'm very much sort of like I hate wearing a suit. I hate dressing things up, and I'm very sort of, this is me, this is what I've been through, accept it, or I'm quite happy to leave type thing. And I just love the rawness of like the way that my life is, and this just fits perfectly. And the piece I did today was the one about knife crime. So it's the one, it's called Choices, and it's just sort of, it's quite a visual walk through of a situation. It's made up, but it's made up of a few different stories that were real, interlinked, so it's not about any one person. And it's the one that we're doing the most, unfortunately. And it's the one that I want people to see. I want it to start conversations. I want it to raise awareness. And just being here today, it's sort of, I love the sort of the video aspect. I love the creativity, you know. I'm just dead keen to see what it looks like at the end. I'm really excited to see that. But the piece I think is important because we don't talk about things enough. We sort of, we know things are happening.
We can just sugarcoat it and put it to the back of the mind.
Yeah, one of the
a
problems.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, we see it. So I do work with people outside of schools as well, and so we talk to young people and they say, well, in my school we've had sort of 3 knives taken off kids this week. So we'll get in touch with the school and just be like, we're doing this blanket thing where we're going to every school because we don't want to say someone's told us. We can come in, it's free, we'll come in and we'll do a talk about knife crime, and we always get the same, we don't have any problems with knife crime at our school. Because what they don't want is parents of other kids, like, kids going home and saying, these people came in and talked about knife crime, and then parents be like, well, why are they coming in and talking about that? So having a video will be able to get our message out to sort of a wider audience, and just something nice to keep. Yeah.
So your company, My Life Experience, is that all poetry?
No, so Life Experience started after, so I went and did a school talk, and I absolutely loved it. There were sort of young people coming up saying, my older brother's in prison and I thought he'd die because of his drugs, but now I've seen you, I think maybe there's a chance he could change, and I'm going to tell him about you and all this. And I was just like, it was amazing. So then when I told that school about the Spice Play, we went and did the Spice Play there, and it meant I needed 4 other people. So then the 4 people came, we did it, and it was good, but then I was sort of, what if those 4 people all had their own story? So then we could all do 10 minutes each plus the play, and then we're doing our own hour rather than just being a bit of someone else's presentation. So then we were getting in touch with schools saying, can you give us an hour? We'll come in and we'll do this, this and this. And that's how Life Experience started. So it went from 5 people with random backgrounds to schools getting in touch saying, we're having trouble with bullying. And I'm sort of like, right, well, I can send you 3 people to come and talk for an hour. Or drugs or knife crime or whatever it is. And now it's sort of, it's progressed into, so like if I was to explain Life Experience, I'd say it's a platform to deliver awareness sessions from. So someone will get in touch with me and say, we've got an issue with this, and I'll recruit people, coach them into what
needs to be
what
said.
needs to be said. Yeah, which bits of their story is important.
Yeah.
And then deliver that. Not saying that bits of the story are important, but if you've only got 10 minutes, these are the bits you need to focus on. And then the spoken word, we introduce that. So I try and get the young people writing in workshops. I try and get my volunteers to write as a way to get stuff out as well. And I always try and write something that's relevant to the topics. So when it's knife crime, that's not my experience, but I'll go and I'll introduce the volunteers and I'll do my spoken word piece either at the beginning or at the end, just to get them thinking about sort of situations.
Give them that buzz.
It
is that buzz. It is. So, just like to thank you for bringing your poem and yourself here today.
Well, thank you for being so accommodating and filming it for me. Like I say, I'm dead excited to see it.
It will be good. And this is an introduction to Phil as well, because we will be seeing a lot more of each other, Isaac and you, in the next 6 months. An exciting project that's...
I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Me too. We're going to try change the world.
Yeah, that's 2025 it'll all be done,
all
I'm telling you. Remember I said that.
Wait, I'll be saying in 2025, I'll remember. And that's it for another episode of Isaac Chats. Don't forget, if you want to view any more of our content, go to www.isaachwho.com. But for now, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.